Naomi Miller, Chair of the Shaftsbury Select Board, and I'm calling to order this regular meeting of the Select Board on Monday, December 16th, 2024, at 6 p.m. here at Cole Hall. Does anybody have a conflict of interest with anything on the agenda?
No.
No. All right. Okay, so the first item of business is the minutes from the special meeting of December 9th. Can I have a motion
So moved.
to adopt them? A second?
Second time was there, yeah.
Yes, you were there. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Tony. Any comments or changes on these minutes?
No.
No? Okay. All in favor of adopting them?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay. Any announcements? Nope.
Nope.
Okay. Warrants. Favorite part of the night?
Times.
Items over 1,000. Blue Cross Blue
Want to move?
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
I've gotten out of the habit.
I know,
'cause
I
Martha
know.
does it. Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Can I have a motion to accept
So moved.
the check warrant number 25016 for a total of $164,094.16?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, John. Thank you. Okay, items over 1,000, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Vermont for $15,532.46.
Yep, employee health plan.
The Bennington Rescue Squad for $5,250. We all know what that's for.
Yep,
Bow Fuels for $13.69 and $15.21.
and fuel.
That's fuel, yeah. Hathaway Electric, $2,082.35.
Yeah, that's more wiring up here into the trailer as well.
Great, and it's done now, right?
Yep, all moved in.
Great. Nemrick, $7,750.
That is the monthly reappraisal December fee. The appraiser's fee for December, I should say.
The appraisers,
Yeah, for December.
Peckham for $11,981.
I think that's on my other one.
I think that was
Is that the one that was
stuff.
added?
It's
Oh,
road
there it
stuff.
is. Winter sand, yeah.
Yeah,
just wanted
winter
to
sand.
Make sure.
RCS Consulting, $1,482. That's
Consulting and moving computers to trailers and doing troubleshooting.
Reynolds and Son for $1,256.25.
That's the fire department. I think it's air packs or something. They Reynolds. Yeah, equipment. I know they get their air packs from them.
Just a random cot systems.
That is the vault solutions.
Okay. Cot systems, that's $170.
It's air moving through the door there in case you want to.
Oh, that weather stripping started rolling off today. Someone was like leaf blowing or something up there.
Okay, the North Bennington Water Department for $73,963.50 paid under protest.
Under protest with the letter to boot, yes.
The Vermont League of Cities and Towns Property and Casualty Insurance for $20,973.85.
Yep, it's quarterly insurance for vehicles, properties, workman's comp.
Wallingford Crushed Stone for $1,127.52. That's for crushed stone.
Yes, it sure is.
And the wholesale distributors for $2,004.
Yep, plow cutting, edgers, and parts as the guys get ready for continued winter.
Great. Any discussion on any? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4-0-0. Just the one, huh?
Yes, payroll warrant is hung up a little bit. There's just more information she needs to get.
Okay.
It'll be probably done tomorrow.
Okay. Public comments. We have quite a lot of public here tonight. Do we have any comments from the public? Mr. Durfee, please come up.
Thank you. David Durfee, here as State Representative. Nice to see everybody.
Nice to see you. Welcome.
I know that you have a full agenda, so I'm not going to take too much time, but I had mentioned to Naomi that during the course of campaigning for the election in November, I heard a lot of feedback from residents, some of which was state-related and some of which was town-related. So I felt I should come and at least share what I'd heard, and it's probably nothing you haven't heard before, either right here in meetings or just in your own conversations with people. But I did tell people as I was having those interactions that I would share it with the select board. So, and there's four things, and I'll just tell you what they are, and then I'll briefly, very briefly, explain, which probably, again, won't be necessary. Speeding on town roads, drug use on Twitchell Hill, not just in that one residence, but on the road, on the street itself. And drug use is not the right word.
Activity.
Yes, activity, would be a better word. Property taxes, and then fuel costs. There were other things too, but those are the four that rose to the top and that probably have the most connection with the town. So speeding, I know you've heard directly from residents, and I just wanted to mention one particular series of conversations that I was a little disturbed by from the state level. There was a project going on over off of White Creek Road that involved state contractors, so working on the railroad tracks, V-Trans, and we had to, we meaning the town, needed to speak to the sheriff about that and see whether the sheriff could do something to
Oh, the sound.
Yeah, to help us out and discourage those drivers. My concern was that we were asking the taxpayer to work on this project and then asking the taxpayer to fund law enforcement to enforce speeds from state contractors. So I got in touch with somebody at V-Trans and said, this seems like a problem. Is there a mechanism for dealing with in a business that's accepting money from the state and then turning around and essentially, causing us to spend more money? So that message was passed on. By that point, the project had essentially wrapped up, and I think that when I talked to the residents shortly after that, they said, we're not seeing that right now, but it was maybe because the project was wrapping up anyway. But in any case, I hope that we're not going to have that happen again the next time there's city contractors involved moving along in roads at speeds that are well above the posted speed limit. So that's all I'm going to say about speeding. Just as far as Twitchell Hill goes, I know that at the last regular meeting 2 weeks ago, a number of residents came in and testified, and the sheriff was here. The sheriff, I know, offered to work with the town to provide more coverage, obviously at an additional cost. And I am certain that the residents of Twitchell Hill would appreciate that and anything else you can do, recognizing that there are budget constraints and that you've got to, as you're putting together the budget now, look at everything that's going into that. So that leads me to property taxes, which is the third area. I know that a lot of residents heard either through the news or social media or just word of mouth that the education property tax had gone way up this year at the state level, sort of on average. So I needed to let people know that while those numbers they were hearing were accurate as statewide averages, they were much higher than anything we were actually experiencing here in terms of education tax rates. So specifically, the statewide average was up about 14% last year. Our Shaftsbury homestead tax rate only went up 3.9%. So it's hard to cut through often the noise. But when I explained that to people, they felt a little bit better about it. I've already been getting email from people now that next year's education tax rate has been estimated at the statewide level at about 6%. So another large increase. My understanding is that our school budget homestead property tax rate is, again, going to be much less than that. So I just wanted to say that as far as the education piece goes. You're not responsible for any of that. You're only dealing with the municipal tax rate. And I know that you've got, you're aware that taxpayers are concerned, but I just wanted to pass that along as well. And I will just say that I often said to people, because they were looking at the legislature as the entity that's responsible for setting education tax rates, that we do that technically, that is our role, but it is a local school board decision. The school budget is just like the town budget. It's voted on by voters locally, and the municipal tax rate, I think, in Shaftsbury was up more closer to 9 or 10% last year. So just in terms of the school budget versus the municipal budget, people often think, well, it's all school taxes, because school taxes are higher than local taxes. The fourth thing I'm just going to mention was about fuel costs, so specifically oil. There was a rumor started by a misinformation campaign. I'm going to be very clear about that. It was a misinformation campaign from the big oil companies that, and the rumor was something to the effect that the state was going to impose a $3 a gallon charge on fuel oil. And I can't tell you how many times I heard this from people, and people were alarmed and concerned about that. It's not going to happen. I can assure people, and the origins of it are to do with the state's efforts to reduce climate change, and as you can imagine, that means cutting the use of fuel oil and propane. And as you can also imagine, the companies that sell those products aren't happy about that. So they mounted a political campaign, very well funded by outside money during the fall, successful to a certain extent, but certainly successful in alarming people unnecessarily. So I just wanted to mention that, because the town is a user of fuel oil, yes. And you will not be seeing anything like a $3 charge on per gallon on costs. So again, you probably heard all these things before, but just wanted to pass that along and let you know that I'm happy to come in anytime and talk about issues that might involve the town at the state level. And you know where to find me. And we'll happy to take any questions, although I realize it's public comment, but happy to answer any questions you might have too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Right, thank you.
Your emails are very informative.
Yeah, they're wonderful.
Yes, very. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Anybody else for public comment? Going once, going twice. Gone. Okay. And now the library representatives. What order would we like them to come and talk in?
I don't know. Alphabetical? I don't know.
Alphabetical.
Yeah.
Good.
Very
Seems as
good.
good as any.
I think that means Bennington.
Bennington will be first, yeah.
Yes.
Town or by library?
Or whoever wants to go first.
You know, whoever would like to go first.
Arlington would go first if we're doing it alphabetical by town. On you go.
Hi.
Hi. My name is Kira Howard. I'm the library director at the Martha Canfield Library in Arlington.
Welcome, Kira.
That's the,
What did you say that is, Mike?
that's the air.
Air coming through
Air.
the door.
The weather stripping is coming off.
Yeah.
But the libraries, I was made aware that you guys were sent our budgets and our request letter, but we are asking for $2,200 for our library this year. We have over 145 patrons who are Shaftsbury residents, myself included, being a Shaftsbury resident. And looking ahead for this year, we're hoping to start a few more programs for residents to come and join us. But we still have our books and computers and different materials that we welcome anyone to come and use our space. We have a nice meeting room. We also have the Russell Collection curated by Bill Budd, and it has a wealth of local and state information that people are welcome to ask us for information or help research.
Great.
So yeah.
Thank you. Any questions for Kira? No? Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for the work you do.
Thank you.
Yeah, be careful there.
Yes.
Right back.
I'll hold on to the table. Good evening. I'm Wendy Sharkey. I'm the director of the Bennington Free Library. We're actually asking you for a big ask for $19,282, which represents a 3.5% rise over the past 2 years. We have found that the cost of our insurance has gone up by 30%. Even the basic costs of buying books has gone up over the past year. The residents of Shaftsbury that we serve has actually increased by 12% over the past year. And of those 12%, half of them actually signed up online. So they didn't even have to use fuel to get into Bennington to sign up. We have also found that the number of books that people are taking out are about even over the past year, but the number of e-materials, the books online, downloading and streaming movies, that has gone up by 12%. So not only can the residents of Shaftsbury sign up online and not come into Bennington, they can also download movies and books and enjoy those all from their own seat in their own house. So they don't have to make that haul into Bennington every time they want to have a little bit of entertainment or something like that. The number of visitors in the library has actually gone up this past year by 10%. And obviously, if they're not checking out that number of books, it means that they're coming to attend programs and to do the activities that we are having at the library. We have been very fortunate recently. We have just received a 1.5 million reimbursement grant to update the heating system, the HVAC system in the library. And when we do that, after we do that, we're hoping to find some really big savings on our fuel bill, which should mean that our budget doesn't do much over the next few years once that's all in place. We're hoping to find the savings in the fuel and keep our budget as even as we can. I was asked not so very long ago if I could wave my magic wand, what would be the one thing that I would do? So I cheated a bit and I actually went for two things, as you would. The there was a survey done in the library just a couple of years ago, and we analysed who was actually using our library services. And we found there was a huge gap in the teenagers and the young adults. So anyone from about the age of 15 up to the age of about 35. And they were missing from the library. Well, you got the odd one in. So what we're actually looking to do now is to create a special area for them, a gaming area, where they can do role-playing games, things you might have heard of, things like Dungeons and Dragons, things like that. So we're hoping to get more of the youth into the library to use our services. And that's one of the things I'd do if I waved my wand. The other is our staff are paid well below the median rate for library staff in the state of Vermont. And I would love to wave my wand and say, you can all be paid at the median rate. And one of the things I've done with this year's budget is I've gone halfway towards solving that problem. And so the money we're going to be using this year, it's all going to go towards salaries and more programs and more basic materials for the rest of the library to use. I would love to answer any questions about anything. We have lots of good ideas that we'd like to put into practice. Yeah.
Do you know how many Shaftsbury residents are members of the Bennington Free Library?
I can tell you, I believe there are, excuse me, I'll just have a little look. Yeah, I've got all the other pieces of information here. Just here I've got the total number of registered borrowers. I haven't got it separated out for
Sorry,
for
didn't mean
that.
to put you on the spot.
No, it's a good question. I can actually get back to you with that number, and I will tell you what that actual number is. But like I said, I did do the sums and the 12% increase. So and I thought that was a really good increase to have. Would also, just before I leave, is you may know this gentleman over here, Dave Newell. He's actually the vice chairman of Bennington Free Library on the board. So he's just one of the Shaftsbury residents that we have in our library.
Like I said, we appreciate the board, the same goes for Martha Canfield Library, to include this as part of the budget. This makes it easier for both parties. And the libraries do a good job here regionally, all of them. And we appreciate the town supporting them.
Yeah, we're very proud of our libraries.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, hello. I'm Jenny Ruzicki from the McCullough Library in North Bennington, and I think the McCullough Library's request is the largest of the three libraries, but we are looking for a 3% increase, $800 over last year's amount, just to kind of keep up with the cost of goods and services. I am very pleased that we exceeded our use of the collection, so circulation rates. We exceeded that at the end of September this year. And it just keeps growing. So that's physical and digital. It's really exciting stuff. We've had, what I can do is pass this around. We have a lovely little infographic, but it's also a donation pitch, so, take it if you'd like. We had a really exciting year, and we're looking ahead to the future and trying to think in terms of the very long term. So in addition to some building renovation projects, especially in our youth room, and we received a $20,000 grant this year for new uniform accessible shelving, so people can actually get to the books on the library's first floor. So those will be installed in probably the first quarter of next year. Improvements in the youth room, some restoration, repairs, and new furnishings, which was entirely donation driven. And we're working on a fund that will ensure that library staff are appropriately and reasonably compensated for their work. And that is, it kind of works like another endowment, but the proceeds from that it's held with the Vermont Community Foundation. The proceeds are earmarked exclusively for staff salary and benefits. One of the ripple effects of that effort has been we were able to increase the library's hours when we reopened in 2023. And Shaftsbury residents, all of whom are welcome to come and take advantage of everything we offer, now can enjoy morning hours. We're open at 10, Tuesday through Saturday, whereas before we had been open at 1 in the afternoon. So it's just been a fun and busy year at the library this year, and we're looking forward to the year ahead and service in Shaftsbury. Actually, we just lined up a Super Bowl Sunday owl presentation, so over at Shaftsbury Elementary. So that's over in February. Everyone's welcome to come meet some owls on Superb Owl Sunday. So come on over and meet some owls. But it's just that sort of stuff that we can do and bring a little enrichment for public and private life, So, do you have any questions or? Yep. If it brings any comfort, about a third of our patrons, and we've been tracking this for many years, trying to tighten up what we have, about a third are Shaftsbury residents, and we have a lot in that kind of North Shaft area who are McCullough Library members. So pretty much any way I've tried to slice it's about thirds between our three municipalities.
Great. Thank you.
Oh, no! Give to a friend. Send them our way. But thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you to all our libraries. And now we're going to hear from the Park McCullough. The buzz seems to welcome each name.
That's another reason to get a new building.
Yes, just another reason to get a new building.
Hi, my name is Kelly Clark Harrington. I am past president of the Park McCullough House. I served for about a year and a half. And I also have with me our treasurer Mike Barrier. I hope you're all familiar with the Park McCullough House, a historic house and property in North Bennington. It's about 2.5 miles from here. And we are coming to ask to increase our funding from the town from $1,500 to $3,500. My understanding is that the amount hasn't gone up in at least 10 years that we've asked for. And really, we are just finding ourselves in a funding issue because of increased costs over the last 10 years. We strive to maintain this historic asset for use by the whole county. We bring in a number of visitors from around the state, from around the country to come see, and they then go and they patronize other businesses in the area. One of the biggest services that I believe that we provide is the use of the grounds to the public. Our grounds are open 365 days a year, from dawn till dusk. We also provide parking that's used for the Mile Around Woods. Maintaining those grounds is not cheap, and we do what we can to try to make it as affordable as possible, but that really is a huge asset that we believe that we are offering to everyone in the community free of charge, right? No one has to be a member to come use our grounds. It's free and open to everyone. What else? So we've been working really hard over the last couple of years to reduce expenses where we can, but budget's really, really tight, and we're at the point where we're having to make decisions about what services we provide that we can no longer provide. And so we are going to all of the towns in the area that have people that use our resources to ask for an increase in funding. Let me see if there's anything else that was in my notes. I think those are all the big points that I wanted to make today.
Any questions?
How's the revenue from renting it out?
So the revenue from renting it out is really challenging because it requires a lot of staff time to manage renting out the space, and it's hard to hold on to that staff because we can't offer them full-time employment. So what's happened is our last few people that have been event managers, as soon as they kind of get rolling, they figure out how to get the property being sold to people and how to manage the events. As soon as that happens, they find full-time employment elsewhere.
We're looking to maybe change up the model of how we rent out our carriage barn, but regardless of whether you're renting the barn, you can use the grounds. You can use the grounds. Brides come up there to use the grounds just for photos. Prom goers go up there. You can get married for free if you want to just use the grounds and do your own thing. So we're looking to think outside the box a little bit with regards to the carriage barn for just those kinds of reasons.
Yep, I think that, if we could find the right person and we could find the funding to keep them full-time, or if we could partner with another organization, these are all ideas we're talking about, that it could become a big revenue stream. But right now, the money we make off of it is not huge. But we do also feel like that is an asset to the local community and an affordable place to hold their private events too. So even if we're not making a ton of money off of it, I think it still has value to the community.
What are some of the programs and services you're fearing you may need to cut?
So we've had to talk a lot about reducing the hours that the museum is open. So I think we last year were open for 7 months of the year, and we were open 4 days a week. We're definitely going to have to cut that back. We just can't afford the staff to staff those museum hours. We use volunteers very, very heavily, but unfortunately a lot of our volunteers are retiring from volunteering. So we're losing a lot of volunteers and struggling to find new people that want to take on those tours. So this past year, our paid staff actually did more than 50% of the tours rather than docents. In the past, it's been 95% docents, tour volunteers doing tours. So that's something that's really impacted us. As I said, we've had some staff members that have had to resign, and we've chosen not to replace them for the time being because we can't commit the finances to replace those employees. We offer a lot of programming. That's going to have to be cut back significantly because we've been trying to find sponsors and get kind of a sponsor group going, but that is challenging. So, we have offered croquet throughout the summer. Various social events, museum opening, and we're looking really carefully at what has gotten good attendance, what do people seem to really appreciate, and wanting to focus on those things. So we're trying to be smart about how we spend our resources. But either way, it's very challenging. When we have repairs that come up, it's a struggle to decide if we are going to be able to do those repairs right now. So we apply for grants, but all grants for projects like this are matching grants. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we have to be able to commit 50% of the funds.
Mm-hmm. We know that.
Yeah.
So that's a challenge. So, but we've been working really hard on increasing grant applications over the past couple of years. questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wendy's there. I'd go fix it, but
You can fix it?
I don't know. Well, there's weather stripping kind of falling off, so maybe if it's tucked in, stop it. But proceed.
Okay. Treasurer's report.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
I sent you my reports, Paula. Did you get them?
Yeah.
Okay. Which one do you want? Let's look at cash flow first, please. You can see a whole bunch of zeros there. There's not a huge amount going on. And partly it's because I'm still dealing with moving into the trailer, so there are a couple of things that are sitting in my to-do file. But those tax receipts were very late changes to tax bills that result. Those are on-time payments, but obviously those should not be happening in December. But that's because of things like current use changes. Very, very late homestead declarations result in later tax receipts. So that's what that is. You also see the delinquent taxes. That's we tend to get large proportion of delinquent taxes very, very shortly after the due date. So that's what that is. I want to look at the bottom half here. That interfund transfer I'm going to talk about also on the reserve fund side. I finally got Jordan, our external auditor, to deal with a negative cash balance in the his own reserve account, in the professional audit reserve account that has been carrying a negative balance for 8 years or something because the original one was not budgeted. So it's silly. And so now when we look at the reserve account, you're going to see that that's been zeroed out because we now use that as a budget item rather than using the reserve account. Is that clear? I said that very quickly. Is that clear? Okay. So that's our cash balance there. If you want to look at the reserve, we can see the other side of that transfer. So if you look at the balance before interest column, it's third from the right. Third from the right, yeah. Right here. No.
Down towards the bottom, you can see the dry hydrant grant is now at 0, and above that, the professional audit line 830 is also at 0. So that's why those have gone away. We won't be seeing those anymore. So you can say goodbye to them. The other one, the 260 line, you can see lots of water payments coming in. Those are due Friday. I put the sign out at the Four Corners today, so I hope that'll remind people. So that's, still carrying a negative cash balance in water, and that's going to get worse when you pay that check under protest. This is a mid-month report, so I don't project it to budget, but I'll do that at the next meeting. Any questions about any of that? Just before this meeting, my printer, as I mentioned, self-destructed. So the checks are not going to go out till Wednesday, and if there are any of them that are particularly urgent, you should let me know. But okay,
another day.
Okay, so that wasn't fun. I learned a new thing about NEMRIC, that it times out if you take too long to print checks, and I was having to feed them one at a time, and then it acted like the whole half hour had not had happened. So that was fun. Okay, that's it. Any questions for me? No. Okay.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Right, the DPW report.
Mike says still nothing major going on. We have equipment maintenance we'll be working on to keep the trucks and plows going for the next storm, filling the sand shed. When the weather lets us, we'll be out filling potholes on the dirt roads, hopefully by Wednesday. That's it.
Okay. Now we open the cemetery mowing bids. of which there are 2. And I think this is only the second time I've done this. I say who it's from and the amount, correct?
Right.
Okay, so this is from Cutter Landscaping, Justin Cutter. For an hourly rate of $75, one season, $45,000. And this is from Sycamore Landscaping, Jay Coonrad. One season, $38,500 at an hourly rate of $85. Yep. Okay. Now I just have to be able to get it back
We'll
into...
take that paper clip off, that might.
You think that would help?
I think so. Slide right in there.
You are such a genius.
Yeah.
How did we live
I
without you?
don't know.
Here you go.
I'm baffled anyway.
Okay, medical building purchase. And this is a kind of update, right?
I guess it's an update. There's kind of a lot going on, right?
There's kind of a lot going
Yeah.
on.
There is. Yeah, so.
So why don't you talk about it?
Oh, okay. So it's public knowledge now that we're making moves to purchase the medical building down the road. I think it's a good idea. We've got a lot of positive feedback from the community. And we put in an offer Tuesday? Was it Tuesday? It must have been Tuesday.
For
$375,000, which is the asking price, and signed a letter of intent, and Dr. King signed it as well and accepted the offer. And then we put $10,000 in escrow, and the inspection of the building will be tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Yikes. Who's coming to the inspection? Anyone?
Right, that's what I was going to ask.
2 select board members, maybe?
She would like 2 select board members?
Sure.
I respectfully request 2 select board members to
Yeah.
Tony?
Do it.
Thank you, Tony.
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock.
I'll,
Attempt.
I will
Okay.
attempt.
Thank you.
I will.
You're all, well, I was going to say you're all welcome, but you can't all be together, so never mind.
Okay, so the inspection that's happening tomorrow is the regular building inspection. And we have been advised that it is also really imperative that we get an environmental inspection.
Right.
And next on the agenda is Jim Henderson from the BCRC to talk to us about that, fill us in on some of those details about that process.
Well, good evening, everybody. My name's Jim Henderson. I am an environmental planner at the Bennington County Regional Commission, and I manage our Brownfields redevelopment program. I brought some information to share with you. The reason why this is of a concern to myself and others is because of the age of the building. It was built in the mid-'70s, is what I understand, and it was built on a previous undeveloped piece of property. It is not a typical brownfields redevelopment where generally we are working on an old mill site or the location of a former gas station where we're looking for hazardous contaminants that are associated with the past land use. In this case, we're not really concerned so much about past land use. We're concerned about hazardous building materials because of the age of the building. And specifically, what we're talking about are building materials that are no longer permitted to be used. Lead paint, asbestos, and my biggest concern is PCBs. And as part of our program, we have grant money currently that we are using from the Agency of Commerce and Community Development to pay our consultants to do the assessment work. And there's different stages that have to go through the process. And if this does happen, this will be the quickest and shortest time frame I've ever done. I am currently discussing proposals and scope of works with a firm that I've done a lot of work with over the past 20 years. Their name is Weston and Sampson. They have an office in Vermont near Montpelier, and they also have ongoing projects, particularly down in Pownell, looking into the PFOA issues that they are dealing with in Pownell because of the Warren Wire plant. So they are already here, so to speak. And that's why they were able to say, yes, we can fast track this. So just before I left my house to come here for this meeting, I did get an email with a proposal from them. They would be able to do what we call a phase 1 environmental site assessment. And what that entails is a site visit, a walk around the property, and a review of the land record. When they are doing the site visit, they are predominantly looking for what we call recognized environmental concerns. And in a typical brownfields project, say it's an old mill, they would be looking for stains on the concrete. They would be looking for drums of whatever type of material, pipes sticking out of the wall that would be indicative of a fuel tank, those sort of things. So they'll write those down and come up with a list of these recognized environmental concerns. A recognized environmental concern could also be this piece of property used to manufacture XYZ back in the turn of the century. That in itself could be a recognized environmental concern. It's probably not the case in this particular site. However, it does need to be done for the town's sake in getting potential future grants. If there's things that need to be done, it's your due diligence. Specifically, if you were going to go through a bank, they would require this to happen. In a typical scenario where there is a recognized environmental concern, then that would move us into what we call phase 2. And that's when we start actually taking samples and doing testing of soils. We do a soil boring. Then with the boring, we will install a groundwater monitoring well. So we are testing the soil for contaminants. We're testing the water for contaminants. We would also be poking at the building. And all of those go into analytical labs. They come back with the results, and if there are levels of certain contaminants that reach a standard that is set by both the state of Vermont and the EPA for different types of uses, then that might trigger a corrective action plan, which is basically, this is what we found, this is the level, this is what needs to be done to protect humans and the environment. And that is where my money ends, with the corrective action plan. So why I am here is to say to you that you should do this review, so that you protect yourselves and your citizens down the road. And one of the best ways of protecting the town itself as the owner of this building is to enter into the Brownfield Reuse Limited Liability Program, which basically is a $500 application fee, and you will be protected after you acquire the building for any contaminant that is already there that wasn't discovered and then suddenly is discovered because, we have to replace the septic system, let's get a tractor in, look, we just found a drum. You would not be, you'd be protected from that. Or, in my opinion, with this site, even more important is liability protection for future hazardous chemicals that have not even been identified yet to the public realm. And a perfect example is PFOA. So I provided I think I have copies. I provided copies for everybody, which is the acronym is the BRELA program, and it's fairly simple. You do have to make an application, and it gets reviewed and then accepted by the Department of Environmental Conservation. Then there's a 30-day public comment period if somebody wants to comment about this. I've never had a comment at all in my 20 years of doing this, but you never know. And the consultant that I am hiring would do all that preparation work for you, paid through my grant. That would be step one. And even if you don't go through with that, it's not costing you anything. You're buying an insurance policy, really, and you may decide, you know what, we're not interested, you can walk away. And that does happen from time to time when somebody sees a great old mill site and they're like, I'd love to buy this and do X, Y, Z with it. And then we do all of our testing under their behalf as the potential purchaser, and they realize, no way, I'm not getting involved in this with all these issues. See ya. The good thing about having that person into the program and allowing us to do the work, because we can't do the work on behalf of a person who's created the issue. That is just, you created it, it's your problem. However, if Joe wants to buy it, then we will do that work because they had no connection with the property earlier. So that's an important part of this reason why I'm here, is to tell you about that. The phase one, we would pay for that as well. And then my contractor would subcontract to another business who would do the hazardous building materials assessment. And what that means is literally drilling a hole in the sheetrock, taking a sample, see that it is not asbestos containing, taking pieces of the window caulking, see that there are no PCBs in that caulking, look at the light ballasts. PCBs were often used in electrical equipment, transformers, light ballasts, paint, glue, virtually everything. Back in the 60s, they put PCBs in. So the key thing that I think is most on your mind is, when can this be done? And just before I left, they assured me that they could have all of their results ready to present, not in a formal report, but in a verbal, maybe we could get together in a Zoom meeting on February 7th. And I'm telling you, that is really pushing it. And I understand that there is a big rush to do this. I've made that very well known to them as well, and they've accepted that this is the reality, and they understand the scenario and why this is happening so quick. So that's it. I have the first thing that has to happen is an access agreement and from the landowner. We got that. That doesn't happen that quickly either. So it's wonderful that you have a really cooperative landowner. Believe it or not, I've been on the phone with 3 different lawyers for one person at a time trying to hack this out. And it's straightforward. It's very straightforward. The other one is a participation agreement that they are willing to agree to participate in our program. This is what they are expected, and this is what BCRC is expected. And that has been done as well. Sometimes that takes a month to do. It only took us a couple days. So we're off to a good start.
Great.
The next thing that I have to do is submit a project information form, which is a site eligibility form. And I submit that to the director of the Vermont Brownfields program. Her name's Sarah Bartlett. She works for Department of Environmental Conservation. The only thing that I have not submitted this yet, I wanted to meet with you first. And I want to get a tightened, I want to pass this around and have you all review it and see if there's any issues that need to be resolved before I submit it. I don't think you'll find anything, but I do have in there the project costs. Those aren't from the consultant. Those are costs that I came up with based on some of my past projects that are somewhat similar to this building. And I'm specifically thinking of the St. Margaret Mary Church up in Arlington, which was a similar scenario. We weren't concerned about past land use. It was all about lead paint, asbestos, and PCBs. And sure enough, we found it all.
It's an old building.
The cost that I put in there is probably much higher than what it actually will be because we're looking at 3 buildings as opposed to 1. So once I get that, those costs nailed down and a scope of work and a proposal, and we agree on that between myself and the consultant, you don't have to be involved with that because this isn't coming out of your funds. It's coming out of our grant. But I will be able to submit this tomorrow. And generally it takes a week or so. However, the good thing is we are already gotten the scope of work in place. Generally, we wait to get the, okay, you're eligible, then I kick into gear trying to contact various consultants. So I've kind of put, in a certain degree, the cart before the horse of how I usually proceed with this, but it's not going to be a problem or an issue. It's just going to make things happen a little quicker.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And if you have any questions, by all means. Every project is different. So I did have one question, though. Are we talking about the entire building? Of the town purchasing the entire building?
No,
Just
only the
70%
70% that the old medical practice was in.
Okay, so not the dentist office?
Right.
All right. I wasn't clear on that. And that may probably also take the costs down because we're under the assumption that you were buying the entire building and the dentist was going to be one of your tenants. That was my assumption that I relayed to the consultant, so.
It's a condo.
Technically, yeah.
Okay.
It's a
Technically.
Do you anticipate just PCBs, maybe?
I do.
Okay, everything else would be
PCBs were,
75 is,
they were banned in 1979.
okay,
And I'm under the impression the building was built in the early 70s.
yeah.
And they were very common in virtually all buildings of that age. As a matter of fact, the state of Vermont is currently looking throughout the state of Vermont at all the schools because of this issue. Very prevalent.
So what would you do, remediate it, take it out?
There would have to be remediation, yes.
A killer.
And typically, as I said, every project is different. And quite often, we have a lot more time where the potential purchaser is able to take a corrective action plan that is in hard copy form. I give it to them, give it to the landowner, everybody has the same document, and the potential purchaser might look at that and say, oh, this is going to cost me $80,000? Well, okay, seller, I want to, decrease my bid so that I can pay for this. That has happened in the past, where it's used as a negotiation to get to a real purchase price. Or what sometimes happens is the purchaser will say, you know what, I want to do it on my own, and there are grants that, or typically, I shouldn't say grant with a capital G. Grants are low-interest loans that the potential purchaser can get through the EPA to do all the remediation work.
Okay. So how long, you talked about chemicals in the future that the state will ban, and I'm thinking, somewhere along the, we wound up with the PCBs. I mean, the PCBs was a prime example. So how long does your inspection last? In other words, if down the line, like 10 years from now, state bans one of the substances that you find, I mean, how long will that cover it?
It would.
Okay, good.
Yes.
What's the time frame on that, on the umbrella? Like, what's the time frame for filling out that application?
We would start as soon as possible, and typically it takes a couple weeks for them to review it, and you would have plenty of time to be an enrollee in the program. But I need to know, like, do I pull the trigger on this? And
yeah.
And you need to know by tomorrow, basically.
I would like to know as soon as possible. Tomorrow would be great. By the end of the week would be acceptable, I think. What's most important is for me to go back to the project manager, his name is Stephen Shaw, and say, I spoke to you tonight, and they're very receptive. Give me a formal proposal, and I will submit the site eligibility form tomorrow, one way or the other, because there's no harm in doing that. And fact is, if the town walks away, then we've already gotten one step further to Dr. King being able to sell that building to somebody else. Because the state will say, oh, it's already an eligible site. It's gone through.
Okay, so this is something we need to talk about in our executive session before implementing when we come out of executive session one way or the other, right? But does anybody have any questions for Jim before that? Because
I guess this is site technically considered a brownfield property at this time, or is it?
No.
You're going to determine?
No.
think you have all the information you need to make this decision?
Okay.
Thank you so much for all this work.
Thank you very much.
If anybody
You did
sees,
incredibly fast.
if you see something on that site eligibility form that just jumps out at you as being blatantly wrong, let Paula know, because she has my email, or Naomi has my email, and I can make that fix. But I think it's pretty straightforward. The only thing that I will change that I've showed you and handed to you tonight would be the estimated cost, and that doesn't even hold us down to anything. It's just so they have an idea that, yes, BCRC can afford to do this, which we can.
Thank you. Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome.
Thank you very much.
All right. Wow. A lot of stuff going on. Community appropriations schedule of meetings.
What do you want to say about that? I'm chasing 6 people.
You're chasing 6 people.
Yeah, I gave them until the end of the week.
Good luck. I know
Did you just say good luck?
I had always had trouble.
But there are only
Trying to-
6 out of all of them, not bad.
That's not bad.
So one was here today in the libraries as well, so we're okay. I'll chase them down.
Okay. And again, anybody who wants an increase
Yes.
in their appropriations that
Right.
is going on the ballot needs to come to a
Exactly.
meeting and talk to us, and that should really ideally be our very next meeting. That would be kind of the end
Right.
of their moment.
So far, none of the other ones have requested an increase, so we're in good shape. 6.
Just remind the public that they're the ones who vote at the end of the ballot for the appropriations for the community.
Yes, the public are the
And
ones
that's
who make
added
the
on
decision.
to the final number.
Yes,
Yep.
okay. A budget update.
The budget is cooking.
Is it simmering or boiling right now?
Yeah.
It's
We're baking.
simmering, putting the ingredients in, use an analogy. Yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to have a
Budget meeting.
budget meeting, well, 2 budget meetings, okay, in January.
Yes.
And the public should know about that too. So public, we're having 2 budget meetings in January.
January.
The more public input there is, the better,
Yeah.
ahead of time.
Absolutely.
Other business? No, none from you? None from
Enough
you?
going on.
Nothing?
No.
Nothing? Okay.
I've got a quick one to report that Mike Yanati and I are submitting a grant to upsize a culvert out on Murphy Hill Road for the Better Road Grant. And that grant is due at the end of the month. So we did a site visit last week. I took the pictures, and Mike is putting together a budget right now. And then I'll submit it on behalf of the town.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's nice news. All right. So now we come to the executive session piece of this agenda. Can I have a motion to move into executive session from which we may be taking action when we come out? So moved by Mike, second by Tony. All in favor? Aye.
I'm going to
Thank you, guys.
pause the recording. Turn the audio back on and record again.
Recording in progress.
So, can I have a motion in relation to entering into the umbrella agreement with BCRC,
So moved.
Second.
including the expenditure of $500
Yeah,
to do this?
I can make a motion.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to expend $500 to enter the umbrella program with the state of Vermont to protect the possibility of our new building purchase.
Thank you, Mike. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Tony. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great, thank you. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike and Tony. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. You're not in favor?
I am, sorry.
Okay. And we're adjourned. Thank you.
I said it in my head.